Welcome back to another episode of Love, Sex, and Literature here with Hot Literati. I'm your resident doctor in love. My name is Anderson II. I'm the Gemini guru. You may know me as Gossip Guy. You may know me as that one cool guy. You may not know me at all. But regardless, welcome back to another episode. Today's question: how do I go about finding multiple people to date at once? Historical non-monogamy, pros and cons, icons and pariahs. They say Kafka was quite non-monogamous and had a spicy life. And they say Anais was the devil of non-monogamy, to the point that her public scrutiny was overwhelming appreciation of her work for a long time. I think I can speak more on Miss Neen than anyone else, and I would say do not do what she did, which was have multiple secret marriages and a slew of lovers and a diary which told it all, allegedly. Now let's talk about how to do non-monogamy the right way. Now, this is a pretty simple question. Of course, you might imagine I could Google this myself. I could check Reddit. They've got everything out there on Reddit. So I'm not going to give you the rigmarole around, how logistically would you go about finding multiple people that might be interested in you. That's a little bit too easy. I'm going to talk today about the spirit and the energy and the best practices of how to have multiple lovers. I've had some experience with it. Sometimes it crashed and burned. Sometimes it worked out pretty well. And I happen to know a few folks who are involved in the ethical non-monogamy community. Now, the key word there is the ethics. You want to make sure that you are ethical at all times. This is not a requirement, but I find it makes things a lot easier. And every relationship is ephemeral. Nothing really lasts forever. But even if this is a flash in the pan in your lifestyle for now, it's great to have folks, that you were intimate with once that can continue to remain connections in your life. Me personally, I've been able to make friends and continue a good connection with folks that I've been involved with before. But that's just me. That's my story. I'm not here to talk about me today. I'm here to talk about you, dear reader, dear watcher. Now, if we're getting into the nitty-gritty, the answer of how to balance multiple lovers will probably depend on many factors. Your gender, your sexuality, your level of interest in romance, what you're looking for in your partners. Maybe you only want to have sex or sleep with one person, but you would like to have a emotional connection with multiple people. Maybe you don't want any emotional connections and you would just like to sleep with multiple people. It's not really my business. It's not really my prerogative. But, on the way here, I was thinking it's easiest perhaps to decide what to do if you imagine what not to do. And so I've got a quick handy-dandy list of what not to do if you want multiple partners. Number 1, you have to be honest. You cannot be dishonest. That's really a better way to put it. If you are someone that enjoys non-monogamy, whether this is your preference or just a phase for you, I think it's best to tell everyone involved exactly that that's your preference. Nobody likes to be taken by surprise, and blindsiding folks is a good way to find yourself with no partners. Makes you look untrustworthy, a little bit sneaky, a little bit shady. And I don't just mean, designer shades like the ones that I had on the way here. I mean, the kind of shady where it's like, can I trust this person? Do I want to open up to this person? Do I want to sleep with this person? So you should be honest. If you're sleeping with multiple people, if you're talking to multiple people, if multiple people in your phone have emojis next to their name, if multiple people have met your parents, all these things, all these stages, they're important. And even if you're just open to it, it's not happening yet, you should clarify that so your partner knows exactly where you're at. Now, I think the second thing you should do is go about it all willy-nilly with no plan. You should absolutely be in touch with yourself and move with intention at every step of the way. Is this a phase for you? Is this your preference? Are you kind of working through some issues and you just get lonely, so you want to have people around? Or is this a larger commitment issue and you just feel safer and more comfortable when you're flying free of a cage? If I was really going deep, I would, if I knew more about who asked this question, I would ask, why do you want to do this? Is it adventure? Is it seizing your youth? Is it some sort of avoidance? every little answer would probably change my answer. And I'm sure you can imagine some of those answers would involve, well, before you sleep with anybody, you should probably reflect and think about what it is you want. What are you coming from? Are you completely new to love and sex? Are you just a literature girly that's been reading a whole lot of romance and you want to get your feet wet in there? Which, that's cool, that's fine. But again, just make sure you know what you're doing. People's hearts are fragile and it's very easy to damage them, intentionally or not. Your intention might be good, but your impact might be bad. Now that's all the prelude, that's all the preamble and all that. When you're actually in it, right, you might be wondering, how do I balance this? How do I talk to multiple people intimately? And the answer is that it's going to depend on everyone you're talking with. Some people just don't want to get that deep. Some people are just going to want to pull up, hang out, pull out, hopefully. And maybe they'll sleep tonight, maybe not. And that's fine. If that's what you're into, and again, you're in tune with yourself, and that's checking off your boxes, I say keep it going. Again, be honest. Some people are going to want to take you on dates, or they're going to want you to take them on dates. Some people are going to want to hold your hand outside in public. So that's a sub-tip. Avoid mixing the soup, if you know what I mean. You do not want to bring one partner anywhere near the other partner. Unless you're in the polycule, in which case you're probably more advanced than whoever was asking this question. So take that with a grain of salt. But if this is your first foray, in my experience, it's really best to keep things separate. Because when your partners are aware of who the other people are, if they know the social media handles of the other folks, or if they can see that you're getting comments on your posts with heart emojis and they can infer, it gets messy. We all try to not acknowledge it, but everybody gets a little bit jealous. Everyone gets a little self-conscious. And I personally have been in a situation where someone knew I was sleeping with someone else also, or at least entertaining someone else. And they start doing comparisons like, well, why doesn't this person want to be in a relationship with me? What does this other partner have that I don't? Am I checking off his boxes? Am I what he wants? And you don't want to have any of that. A relationship is best when it doesn't have any doubts. So again, you want to be ahead of the curve. You want to tell them, this is where I'm at right now. This is just what I'm doing for XYZ reasons. And I think the communication is very important. So let's say that's tip number 3. How to do this, you should communicate as much as possible. I don't just mean telling them where your boundaries are. Maybe, no dates, or no holding hands, or no I love you, which is a big step. But also communicate like, I'm with you because XYZ, or give lots of compliments. I really enjoy the way that you bring ABC out of me. I really enjoy how we do 1, 2, 3 together. Maybe you've got one partner you like to take to museums and you can talk about art for hours. Maybe another partner is your party friend with benefits. I don't know. Again, it's probably best not to mix them. You definitely don't want to throw a big party, invite everybody. As exciting as that sounds, sort of like a tournament arc to see, who's going to come out on top. I foresee that might burn some bridges. And that's not good. Now, also on the way here, I was considering, what if this question is from someone that has a lot of experience in monogamy and wants to try something different? So what if they're asking, how do I get into that paradigm where I can entertain other people? And again, I've been there, where you kind of get close to one person and it gets a little intimate, so you almost feel bad being with someone else. It feels like a betrayal or, some dishonesty. I don't know. I could be projecting this, but I think we're in a society where monogamy is the norm. It's expected, and it's kind of ingrained in most of us. So even if intellectually this is not for me, those feelings might still come up. You might fear judgment. You might fear alienation. You might fear hurting. Now, I remind you that to love is to be changed, and it's impossible to be close to anyone without a risk, a very high risk, of hurting them or being hurt in return. I would advise you not to take this personally. Take it in stride. Most people are not out to get you, I promise. Most people are hardly even thinking about you as much as you think or you fear. I would say that most people are occupied with their own image and their own narrative and even their own flaws as much as possible. And we're all kind of just side characters in other people's stories. Rarely are we the villain of someone else's narrative. And that can be kind of freeing when you realize I'm in charge. I'm the one that's consuming and judging me the most. That allows you to be kind to yourself, and it also allows you to accept other perspectives. So, my next tip, I think, if this is something you're interested in, would be to explore. Try out different partners that you haven't really been around before. Try, different categories of folks. Experiment. Go on lots of dates or go to lots of parties. Just go to random people and get lots of numbers. You never know. It could be really fun. You might find that you like something you didn't expect. We've all been there. Try to work on your shame too. As I mentioned, we've got all those insecurities and those society ideas of what should and shouldn't happen. So I can foresee it's easy to hesitate telling people what you're into or what you're doing. And it can be easy to want to avoid being open and honest with your partners. If you're anything like me, you might imagine, well, I don't know if I want to tell this person I'm talking to that I'm talking to someone else, because what if they're not into that? What if they want a serious relationship? If it's not overlapping and we're moving along at a nice measured pace and, I'm practicing safe sex with everybody, then what's the harm? Unfortunately, there's a lot of harm implied in that. Lying by omission is still a kind of lying. And a situation can go better than you expect, just as much as it can go worse. In fact, I would argue the chance of something going better than you expect is way higher than the chance of it crashing and burning, as you may fear. People may recognize, this is a trustworthy individual. They may sense that this is a phase for you, something you're working through, and they might be intrigued to try it out themselves. You might free them. They might appreciate your honesty, and circumstances or expectations might change. You never know. And even if it doesn't change, even if you do tell someone, I'm non-monogamous for now or forever, and they say, that's not for me, I think you're doing more good in the long run. I think everybody deserves to be on the up and up and well informed about who they're involved with. And again, this person might really respect your honesty and decide to keep you around in their life. And you might have a great friend or a potential candidate in the future. You never know. I'm not really an advocate of keeping backup plans when things get serious, but I've been implying for a while that this is not a serious situation that you find yourself in. I will acknowledge that if you are asking how to optimize a polycule or a polygamous relationship, I am not the most personally experienced in that realm. I can speak to you on theory and my ideas of what should and should not happen, but I have less direct, knowledge of how that works. From the research that I've done and the sources I've consulted, some of these tenets are still important. You absolutely should be honest. Everyone should be on the same page, and you should be fair. If you set ground rules and boundaries, and you decide, okay, we can have this open thing, but no sleeping with friends, or I need to know everyone that you go on a date with. I need to see who they are. Some of those are going to be for safety rules. Some of those are going to be just for inner security. Make sure you follow those rules. Do not be a rule breaker in love. There are social rules that it's great to break in love. I mean, don't get me started on exhibitionism. Literally don't, because this might get censored. But, if you're setting rules for your love, don't break them. Trust me. I have experience in that field, and it never works out. And if you're anything like me, it hurts to know that you've kind of gone against your personal set of values. Values. I like that word, values. I believe that the important part of all this is values. You have to make sure your values align. If you're thinking a little bit about who to look for and how to build this roster for you, search for folks with similar values. They may look completely different than you think your type is, but it's what's inside that counts. Hot people are not just hot on the inside. Whoops. They are hot on the inside. That's the thing. I meant to say hot people are not just hot on the outside, but in the inside too. The real hot ones, right? I'm talking like the end of the hot ones videos when they're like, oh, it's hot. That's the real folks who are beautiful inside and out. And that's the folks that everyone wants to be with. So there may be some competition. You may snag yourself a hot one, and they're the ones that are polygamous. And you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get into this schemata? And so, if that's the aspect, actually, that's a whole different answer. I would not recommend getting into something polygamous if you're not actually into it. Trust me, no hot person is worth going against your values, your boundaries. That is very important. Right, if I had to say one more last thing, and this is for those of y'all who are monogamous almost against your will, like it's just who you are and you can't control it and you wish it was different, my tip would be to forgive yourself. Let yourself be who you are. Let people love you for who you are. Let people give you what you want. It doesn't matter what someone else thinks of your lifestyle. It doesn't matter what your mom thinks, what your dad thinks, what your cousin thinks, what your boss thinks, what your best friend thinks. It might hurt and it might sting and it might contradict your own thoughts. But this is your life you're living. Your life only. There's only one of it. In the whole history of the entire world, of every single book out there, there's only ever going to be one you. There never will be again. Never has been before. So I think it's our duty to be our full, whole, intentional selves to the best of our ability and to speak yourself into the world. Share your full self and let it happen. You will attract people that appreciate it and it will get easier. I promise.
Beautiful.
This has been the Gossip Guru. Have fun, be safe, and stay hot.